Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So in this lesson, we're discussing two more new terms, and they're not necessarily to do with da'if and hadith, da'if and sahih and hasan, or they don't influence that. It's just a matter of understanding some terms so that you don't get confused. Basically, it's more to do with mubham. You have mubham when the rawi is not lam yusam, he's not named, or you're not sure who it is. It's not named, but it's that you can get confusion. So to avoid confusion within narrators, it's important to have these words in your mind. We have Salih ibn, oh, Nahwa another train. Salih ibn Abi Salih. Yeah, we started also hadith about Nahwa another train. Salih ibn Abi Salih. That name came before, didn't it? So you mastered him, innit? There are 4 people by this name, all in the same generation, like within the same era. So there are 4 people with this very same name. You get it? Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash, 3 people in the same era with the same name. Are you following me? So what can happen is you can have a name where it's written the same, the muttafiq. So remember, the muttafiq comes with muftariq, qaf qaf. The muttafiq in what? In khat and pronunciation. You write it the same way, you pronounce it the same way, but they're already different muftariq, they're different people. Are you following? Like for example, for Indian or Pakistani or Gujarati, what? Muhammad Patel. It's spelled, but some people Muhammad spelled it like 10 different ways. But if it's spelled the normal enunciation way, same writing, same pronunciation, they're different people. So you have to know, is this the Leicester one, or the one from this area, who's Muhammad Patel's student? Ahmad Muhammad maybe is a very common Arab name, Ahmad Muhammad or Muhammad Ahmad or something like that. Muhammad bin Ahmad. You probably have loads of people that name. So it's like, which Muhammad ibn Ahmad are you talking about? Ahmad ibn Muhammad are you talking about? So they're spelled the same way, but they're different people. So it's called al-muttafiq wal-muftariq. The muttafiq in lafz and khat, enunciation and writing, but the muftariq meaning different personalities. Yes? Another example of this is what? If you have a hadith that says Abdullah, now they would assume you know which Abdullah you're talking about. It's like a little, again. So we say Abdullah, who are you talking about? So if this Abdullah is a Makki chain, who the narrators, where they're from? Makkah. Then usually it's Ibn Zubayr. Yes? If it's from Medina, it's Abdullah ibn Umar. If it's from Kufa, then Abdullah must move to Kufa, and he taught the ulama, the students in Kufa. If the Abdullah is from Basra, it's Abdullah ibn Abbas. He moved with Ali radiallahu anhu, and he stayed in Basra. So if the son is from Basra, it's usually Abdullah means Abdullah ibn Abbas. If it's Abdullah in Sham, then it means Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As ibn Wa'il as-Sahmi. You follow? And if it's a later generation, and if it's Khurasan, then Abdullah is Abdullah ibn Abbas. But he's not. These are all Sahabi. This is probably Tabu Tabi'i, probably. Yes? You following? But these ones here, so again, you can have Abdullah is muttafiq, meaning what? It's the same khat and the same love, written the same way, and pronounced the same way, but obviously you have to know from the context who's you're referring to. So you don't get confused. Saying, well, what if one is da'if and one is khafif al-zabt, one is ta'am al-zabt, or one is ta'am al-zabt, one is level 3 zabt, sayyul hifz, he's got a weak memory. What happens then? Are you following me? Do you understand? So that's why we're saying here it's important to know the muttafiq and muftariq. So that's one terminology. So muttafiqun lafzan wa khattan muttafiq. وضده فيما ذكرنا المفترق. So muttafiq, so something which is muttafiq, the same. This is line number 28. Something which is muttafiq, the same in enunciation and writing, in wording, pronunciation, or was khat, writing. Sorry, pronunciation and writing. Enunciation. So something which is the same in writing and in enunciation is called muttafiq. I mean, it's muttafiq in writing and words. وَضِدُّهُ فِيمَا ذَكَرْنَا الْمُفْتَرِقِ. And the opposite of what we mentioned is muftariq. So the word muttafiq wal muftariq is one term. This is from the muttafiq wal muftariq, meaning same word but different person. Okay. On the other hand, what about this? What's the ruling? What's the history about the dots in the Arabic language? Dots in the Arabic language, dots. The fatha, the kasra, the dhamma. What's all this? It came after. So who's this? If you see this If you see this in a book, who is this? How do you read this? Who is this? Hmm? Who is this going to be? How do you read this? Muhammad, how do you read this? It could be Hibban. No? It could be Hayyan. So it's written the same but pronounced differently. This is called Mu'talif والمختلف, the faz. This is the next line. Mu'talif والمؤتلف. So ائتلف يأتلف, to be similar. But they just use different, I mean, متفق and مؤتلف, they just use different words. So the مؤتلف comes in مختلف and متفق comes in مفترق. So مؤتلف والمختلف means written the same, pronounced differently. Is it salam or salam? So most of the time it was salam, except Abdullah ibn Salam or Salam ibn Abi al-Huqayq, from the Jews from the Khaybar. Remember that name came in Sirah? So usually the word is salam, but you get some salam as well. Well, who is this? Is it Umara? Is it Ammara? Is it Imara? Different. What is this? Is it Haram or is it Hizam? Without a doubt, you wouldn't know. Is this Hammal, Jammal, Jamal? What is this? This can be. See, this is another thing. Is this Asad, Asid, Usaid? And even when you're writing those little things, there's an extra one here, so you can get mixed up. So things that are written similarly, but they pronounce differently. This is called what? Mu'talifun. Mu'talif wa mukhtalif. So the mu'talif wal mukhtalif is those words which are mu'talif fil lafz, fil khatti, and mukhtalif fil what? Enunciation, fil talaffuz wal lafzi. It's the opposite of mu'talif, meaning, I know he said it in a way that's opposite, but it's used as one term. Al-Muftariq, al-Muttafiq, wal-Muftariq is one. Al-Mu'talif, wal-Mukhtalif is one. So the way he's mentioned it here, it looks as if it's like two opposites, different words. But it's like one term. So, Mu'talifun, Mubtada. The Mu'talif is that which is same in writing only. Khat, in writing only. Like Salama, Salam, Amara, Umara, Habbana, Hayyan, or Hibban, Habban, Hibban and Hayyan. And the opposite of that is Mukhtalif, Fakhsh al-Ghalat, be careful of making a mistake. So look at it here. Look at this. So if things are written the same, the next step is the same in writing and enunciation. What do you call it? Muttafiq wa muftariq. So when that term is used, it's not, then you say, oh, this is a muttafiq wa muftariq. And people have written books like on this topic. Some books actually call this. We'll do that in thing. In Nuqat al-Fikr, he actually mentions which books have this topic mentioned. Okay? And if it's fil khatti dun al-lafz, it's the same, but only in writing, not in enunciation. You call it mu'talif wa mukhtalif. This word is mu'talif wa this name is mu'talif wa mukhtalif. It is the same, similar writing, but the enunciation and pronunciation is what? Different. Have you understood? Are you following? Yes? So we have our hadith, we have a sanad, we have a matan, correct? Then we have our bi'tibar al-siha, we have what? Go through it with me. We have our sahih, we have our hasan, we have our da'if. We already mentioned the condition many times, we should know those by now. Then bi'tibari man udhifa ilay, we have hadith marfu', the Prophet's statement. Hadith mawquf, sahabi statement. Hadith maqtu', tabi'i statement. We have those three. After we have a musnad. What's a musnad? A hadith that is marfu' and muttasil. Then we have ta'addud ruwati. How many people are narrating this? If there's many narrators, you call it what? Mutawatir. If it's more than 3, you call it mashhur. If it's more than 2, you call it. If it's only one narrator, you call it gharib. And then if a gharib is also fard, it's called fard. If it's absolute fard, meaning only he narrates it, or only she narrates it, it's called what? Fard mutlaq. If it's many people narrate it, but from this aspect, a particular aspect you're looking at, it's called what? Fard nisbi. Then, if the sanad is linked, if the sanad and the chain is linked at all places, it's called what? Muttasil. It's called muttasil. And the muttasil can either be Ali or Nazil. A very Ali, a high chain, meaning less numbers relative to other people of that era. And Nazil meaning many chains in between. Hadith mursal is the sahabi is missing. If the beginner chain is missing, we call it what? Beginning of the chain, somebody is missing. Mu'allaq. Then a mu'adal is what? 2 missing. And if apart from mursal, mu'allaq and mu'dal, any other breakage is called what? Munqati. And a mudallas is what? Yeah, so you could have narrated from him. You might have heard from him. You haven't heard this hadith from him. Meaning a hidden breakage. Okay? And then in terms of ada, you have two types of two basic sigha. What two sigha? Sarih fi sama and mutahammil fi sama. One is explicit, I've heard, حدثنا أخبرنا سمعت قال لي, or anna. An or mu'annan. Correct? And then in terms of the uyub, we have mubham. Now, I'm just putting this together. Mubham means you absolutely don't know. Or it can be mudallas. The second type of mudallas, which is what? You mention it by a name. Unknown, unusual. Muttafiq and muftariq, you can cause confusion. I don't know which one it is. Which salam is, I don't know. Which Salih ibn Abi Salih is it? I don't know. So it's a type of mubham, and it links with there. Then you have mu'talif and والمختلف as well. Those will kind of fall under that category. Go there. Then you have shadh and you have mahfuz. Then you have qalb. You change the sanad around. What does shadh and mahfuz mean? Yeah, so it's two hadith, and one hadith has more narrators or more thicker narrators, and it's different. You can't reconcile between them. Narrated differently. So the one that has more evidence, we'll go with that one. And the opposite is called the one that's preserved is mahfuz. Qalb isnad al-matan, either the name is swapped around or the words in the sanad are swapped around. The other types, we'll go through that later on, inshallah. Then istirab is when you have a shadha mahfuz kind of level, but you can't determine, you can't prioritize one. And then you have hadith mu'al or ma'lul, is what hadith which what? Has a hidden defect, which cannot be just understood just from knowing the dates. You have to know the full story behind certain people, certain events, certain narrators to know what's going on. Understood? Yes? Let's stop here, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Everyone following? Any questions?